Okay, I hope you guys can hear me. Let me just check if this is actually recording. Yay, you can hear me? Okay, let me see. I'm so new to this, you guys, so please have some grace with me for just a quick second. I'm gonna see if I can put this stuff on multiple screens so I can see the chat too. Let me see. Hi. Okay. Oops. Okay. Are you guys seeing my screen okay? Before we get started. I just want to confirm you guys can see the screen before I start. You can't see anything. Yes. Okay, perfect. Okay. Hi, y'all. Thank you so much for joining the live today. Of course, we're going to go over the budget tracker, the budget template. I sent out an updated template thanks to one of my supporters, one of the people that purchased the template. They asked to add additional lines, and I figured if one person has, needs that, maybe other people do. So I sent you guys an updated template. But we will get started here. Definitely let me know if you have any questions along the way. I'll try to stop in between showing how to use the tracker, just to see if you guys have questions and answer your questions. So let's go. So the budget, we have the instructions in here, which I think is good. I hope it's good. But if you ever go through this and feel like I'm missing something, please let me know. I'm happy to make any updates. But first things first is we start in the budget setup tab. So everyone's personal finance is personal, of course. So you may have some of these expense types that I have already down here, but you may also have some that I am missing. So you'll put in, the name of your company if you want to, or where you're getting your income sources here. I have these as an example, but you can easily type them in and be like 1, 2, 3, Inc., or whatever you want to do, wherever you get your money from, and update these categories. Then I also have in the category section business, expense, investment, savings, taxes. These are just like overarching categories that you can put your expense types in. And you'll see that more as I go through the tabs. And then all these different expense types. So if you're spending money on your business, your credit cards, your rent or your mortgage, whatever your expenses are normally, throw them in here. You can add more into these expense types. You can change any of these that do not apply to you. This is very much customizable for you. As I said before, personal finance is very personal. So I don't know what you're spending your money on, but just throw it in there and you'll see that change in all of your tabs throughout the budget tracker. Savings and investments, of course, there's different savings types. I personally added a travel savings because I like to travel. So I want to throw, money towards that. I put that in there. if you're investing, like if you want to invest in certain different things, like for your kids or a house, whatever you want to do. Yeah, I have the down payment there. You can edit this so that it reflects that for you. Wants, needs, saves. This is just like an added little thing to see where your money is going. I'll show you that in a little bit. Debt categories, which many people can have multiple types of debt. Car loan, credit cards, mortgage, personal loans, student loans. If you have multiple credit cards, they will all just roll up into this one credit card category, but you will be able to break down your credit cards later on in the debt tab, and I will show you that. And then transaction types, this will go along with you tracking your debt transactions, your savings transactions, etc. So I'll show you where that flows into later on. But a lot of these end up into drop downs into the other tabs so that you can just easily, click, and then everything kind of adds in together and rolls up together. So next we have the savings and investments tab. So like I mentioned before, you can update your savings and investments types here, and then they will show up into these categories here. And so when you're in this tab and you have, and let me make this maybe a little bit smaller so you can see more of the screen. I don't know if that's helpful. Let me know if it being smaller is helpful or if I should make it or keep it the size it was before. Because I know it's kind of hard to see the whole thing in one, but in this tab, you'll choose your category that you want to save towards. Maybe it's just a regular savings. You update the description to say kids school fund, whatever it is. And then it'll update down here in this long-term goal, etc. section. It becomes one of its own buckets. And then you want to save, I have $40,000 here, but if you save $20,000, it'll all update into this section here. And then particularly for this year, of course, this was a 2024 tracker, but you can just change it for 2025. You say you want to save maybe the full 20,000 is for this year. That'll all update below. And if you want to see how much you want to save in 12 months, 6 months, what you exactly need to put aside, you'll put in your savings goal here. So you have 20,000 and then you have 12 months, and this is how much money you should be putting aside each month. That's just a quick calculation to help you. If you want to save that in 6 months, that's how much money you'll need to put aside each month. So that is just how you use that. You can continue to add more into this. Again, these categories are overarching. So if it's just savings, you just add another savings. They'll all add up into this bucket here, but you can change the description so you know which bucket you're tracking for. So down payment, second house. And you put in $4,000 or $40,000 for the down payment. And for this year, you want to put away $10,000, and you'll see that pops up in here. And if you want to create more buckets, you'll just need to highlight the line, insert the line, copy down the formulas if you need more lines. And then as well for these buckets, you kind of just need to copy them over or below. So you would copy it, and we'll put it here. But then there's many formulas in here, so you'll need to go into each one, see where it's pulling from, see if it's the line you're trying to pull from, and make sure that that is all aligned. But there are many buckets that I put here already, so you hopefully will be okay with that. And yeah, that will all flow into here. So let's go into the debt tracker. So for the debt tracker, it's somewhat similar as well as it has the categories again here. So you'll have credit card, student loan, maybe you have multiple credit cards. You'll just keep clicking credit card and you'll put in like I do, as you guys know, maybe the Barclays card or the Capital One card, and you'll put in the balance you have at the beginning of the year into this. And you'll see it'll start increasing the balance in beginning balance as well as the current balance as it flows into here. You'll want to make sure you're changing the month each month. And I don't know if I mentioned that for savings and investments, but it's same thing in there. So we're in the month of April. And so the running balances will update. And then when you're entering, the payments towards your debt, or if your debt increases, which hopefully it doesn't, it'll all flow into here when you fill that out in the tabs, in the month tabs. So you have quite a few lines here. Hopefully you won't need more than that, but definitely if you want to add more, you'll just, again, highlight a line, go to insert cells, and shift down. And then make sure you copy all of the formulas down so that it can be added into there as well. So you just have a new line, and we'll put another, like a car loan, and you'll see that pops up over there. So it's still calculating. And whatever you do to the top, you'll want to do to the bottom as well, so that your lines match up as well. And if ever you find like the formulas may not be pulling, just drag them down. Honestly, Google Sheets, I don't know why it does this sometimes, but it does glitch. So make sure you just drag the formulas down. It'll catch everything. The formulas are in there very particularly. So copy and paste them down. It'll be okay. Okay. Now on to the full year tab. And do you guys have any questions before I go into the full year tab on the debt and savings and investments tab? So the question is to confirm, are the savings and debt trackers tied to the monthly tabs, or should we treat these spreadsheets separately? They are tied to the monthly tabs as well. So you'll start there, you'll put in the beginning balances. All of these formulas though, that's in the months to update these amounts, these are all formulas pulling from those monthly tabs. So you'll see in the March, you'll see it's pulling from the March sheet. So once you have the setup done, you don't really have to touch it. Every month when you're doing your tracking is when these sheets will update. And again, make sure you update the month so that it is pulling in the details from that month and prior. Let me know if that answers your question. Great. Okay. So let's go into the full year tab. Okay, so full year review. This is pulling as well from the month tabs. It's pulling from the debt tab, from the savings and investment tab. It's kind of just pulling all of your information together so you can see it all in one. So you'll see up here, your to-date income. That's adding up everything that you fill out throughout the year, as well as your expenses, as well as your savings. I do have a section here where you can put in your goals for the year. If you want to just look back on that, make sure you are staying on track with your goals, and any notes that you may have, just to keep your mind on track in case there's things due, like, oh, you have a tax bill due every quarter and you just need to make sure you have that reminder there. That can be put into this full year review tab or on the month, because the months also have the goals of the month and then the notes section as well. When we go down here, how we fill it out. So the income sources, they're all pulling from here from the budget setup tab. So that's why you want to do that first and make sure you have everything in the budget setup tab the way you want to see it. If you have a new source of income, you'll just go back to that tab and add it in, like we said, 1, 2, 3, Inc. and it should show up here. So you'll see it's right there, it's pulling into here, and it should pull into all of your months going forward. So you can type in the description that you want here: main job, side hustle, small business number two, etc. That will all flow into the months tabs as well. Hello. Um, and then a lot of this data here is just pulling in your expense types. These are pulling from your budget setup tab. So once you do the budget setup, it'll be really helpful for the rest of the tracker to just flow so easily for you. Same thing for savings and investments, just like this is tracking how you've budgeted for those, where your actuals are, and this little debt overview is pulling from the debt tab where it shows you what your beginning balances are for each category, and then where your current balance is. It's also pulling from the debt tab. And remember, all of these updates from the debt tab are coming from the months, so they all kind of intertwine and connect with each other. In this tab, you also have the full year budget, so you'll see how you're budgeting throughout the year for each of these categories, for your income, how everything is tracking for your savings and investments, and then you'll have this full year actual section where it shows you actually how you spent your money throughout the year. So you'll see like, oh, I spent so much, you guys know me, for the first quarter of the year, if we were looking at mine specifically on food delivery. And I'm like, okay, I need to obviously slow that down. That's not, what I should be doing. And of course, here as well, where we have the want, debts, needs, you can change that to however you want this to be. This is where you would change that. And then you'll see the split over here of how you're spending your money. As well as here. There's a breakdown here as well. And then still on expenses, you'll see how you're budgeting overall for the year in a small snapshot here, and then how you're actualizing as well in a small snapshot here. Other features here, just these graphs show you like the percentage that you're putting towards any category in your budget and the actuals, where most of your income is coming from, if there's multiple sources of income. That'll all show there. In this example right now, I only have one. That's why it's a full color. It's showing all of my income is coming from ABC Co. Same with savings and investments. And then current debt balances, it'll show you where you are currently. So in this example, I have most of my debt is because of this federal loan, which is usually a student loan. Hi, Paula. Yeah, so it's the same sheet. I just added some lines, and I sent out an email to everyone on the email list from anyone who's purchased or anything. So you should have gotten the email. I sent out this updated sheet because someone requested that I add some extra lines, and I figured it would be helpful for everyone. So if you need the extra lines, you can definitely use the sheet that I just sent out in the email. And if you haven't gotten it, just email me and let me know, and I can send it to you. But it's the same, it works the same, it's pretty much the same. I just added some more lines in like income and then expense tracking. And for the debt as well, the debt tracker as well, actually. But overall, it's the same. Perfect. Okay. So now let's go into before I, get past the full year review tab, do you guys have any questions on this tab in particular? I think that's a no, but if I see something pop up, of course I'll come back. Okay, so for the monthly tabs, these should all look the same. The only difference in the monthly tabs is the month, of course. And then I also have here little quotes that I have throughout the year, which I find so cool. And actually, they usually align with what I'm thinking for that month. Like, I forget what each month says. I did this a while ago. Um, and then when I come back to it, I'm like, oh, wow, that's a great quote for this month. And it goes along with my goal. So I find it pretty cool. You can change this yourself if you want, but I think it's, just a cool little feature there. Um, like I mentioned before, we have goals of the month and then notes here. Um, so like if you have a yearly subscription and you want to make sure you remember that for that month, you want to put that down there. If you have some travel or something for the following month and you want to make sure you save for that, you want to put that note there. So while you're building out your budget, you want to just make sure you're capturing everything because the budget is very forward looking. We also have here the graphs similar to the ones in the full year, but this is just for the month in particular. And you'll see this small graph here where you have what you've budgeted and how much you've actually spent. So you'll see if you're over budget, under budget, and a quick little look. And then your current debt balances on this side. Just showing you where you've gone so far. And clearly, I have, because I changed the dates on this. Okay. It looks like right now the Apple Card is, going the opposite direction, but that's just because I have examples in multiple sheets. Well, I'll show you exactly how that works. So you come down here and you'll put in the dates when you get paid. So I used to get paid weekly, and sometimes for people who get paid weekly, they'll get paid 5 times in a month. So I put in 5 columns here for you to put in dates. But if you get it paid, monthly, weekly, or semi-monthly, you can just change these dates to reflect that. And then you'll put in, again, these are coming in from the full year and the budget setup tab. You can put in the frequency in here, and then you'll just put in how much you'll get paid each paycheck. I think this is cool, and it differs from a lot of the budget trackers that I've seen because usually it's just like almost like you're always looking at a full month view, but a lot of people actually budget and track their spend by paycheck. So to have that in here, I think was really helpful. It helps me a lot because I need to see where my money is going that week. So you'll put in the amount you get paid each week or whenever you get paid. That will update over here, of course. So if it was $1,000 every week, that'll update here. And then this will show you, of course, how much you have left to budget. I already have an example in here. So let's say all of this is gone. And we'll delete the expenses. And then we'll also delete this. And I'll show you like how to start fresh with this. Delete all of that and then also delete these. So here it says we basically put in we basically put in that we get paid weekly $1,000. So we have $5,000 to budget for the month. And we'll come down here and we'll say in the first paycheck that you get on January 3rd, but before January 10th, of course, you'll have some things that are due. Groceries, I have up here as first. You may do your groceries weekly. Whatever the case is, that's fine. Let's say if we did do it weekly, we spent $150 on groceries every week. We'll put that in there and just put it across like that. And then we also have, rent or your mortgage, depending on however you update your template. That's due, of course, at the first of the month. And again, like I mentioned, budgeting is usually forward thinking. So your rent or your mortgage is probably already paid for January, but maybe you want to save some money each week for your mortgage or rent for February, you'll put in, how much you want to put away for your rent or mortgage. And let's say you are so lucky to only have $1,000 to pay for that. You'll split that out like that. And then you come down and, there's the drop downs again. I forgot to show you that, but here are the drop downs. You choose what the category is for the expenses. You type in the description. You say, okay, for this credit card, it's due on the 12th. That is after this paycheck. So I want to put in the minimum payment for that credit card. And you'll throw that in there. And you really just keep doing that. You'll have the due dates here so that you know which check it falls into. And you just keep filling out this section here for your budget until, for me at least, of course, personal finance, again, is very personal. I like to do a zero-based budget. So I'll fill this out until left to budget says 0 for the month. And that doesn't mean you have no money left over at the end of the month. I have a buffer category here for unexpected expenses. So I can put, however much I want to put in the buffer. And that will, clear out that amount. You'll still have that cash. It's for, safety. You don't want to put it, you don't want to take out from your savings or whatever the case is. You can put that in there. Any questions so far? And right now I'll take that as a no, but if you are typing, keep typing. I'll get back to your question. Now that your budget is all set, and we'll just, throw in some numbers here. It'll keep going down. Yes, you can track investments too. So that would be in the savings and investments portion here. Like we just had the buffer example. You can also say you want to put in, a certain amount towards your investments. And again, this is for kids' school fund. And maybe you want to do this bi-weekly. So you'll put in that amount here, 200 to do bi-weekly. And then and this is just the budget portion. Remember that this is just the budget portion. We'll get to actually tracking towards your savings and investments when it actualizes. But there is another point that I did want to bring up that I almost forgot to bring up, is the balance down here on the bottom. So if you are maybe over budgeting for a paycheck, you will be able to see that on the bottom. So as I'm going through this, I'm like, oh wait, I don't even have this $100. I'm clearly over budget on this paycheck. So we can either go, okay, well, I have extra money here. That's okay. It'll cover that as long as I still have enough by the end of the month. Or you can just move some things around. I like to move some things around in the buffer. And let's say I know I need that $100 for sure for that month or for that week. And then I'll just minus 100 so that clears out because I know I'm going to use that buffer towards next week's expenses. You really just use this to make it work for you. Okay. So I'm going to move on to the expense tracking. So in this section here, you'll want to track your expenses, like every single transaction. This can be done daily or it can be done weekly. It could be done when you get paid, whatever works for you. I would suggest at least weekly. So you're making sure you're on track with what you've budgeted and how you want to spend your money. And when you're reviewing it on a weekly basis, you can see if you're overspending in one area, underspending in another area, and just making sure you're, on track. So in this section, we'll put in the dates on the 3rd, 2025. Good. I am glad to hear that. I actually just put out, so the comment was when I've used it weekly, it was the best strategy. Um, I just actually put out a video today where I'm showing my Saturday routine, which every Saturday morning I get up, I get my coffee, and then I open my computer and make sure I put my expenses in to make sure I am on track. When I am off track, which you guys probably seen in one of the last two videos of mine where I was like, I was not tracking weekly, I overspent on food delivery, ordering out so much. So much. It was ridiculous. Okay, so I highly suggest doing this weekly. You really get to see like where you're spending your money. So we'll put in the type here. So let's say groceries, and in the description you can put whatever you want. Maybe you go to Ralph's or Trader Joe's or whatever, and your bill was $120. You'll see how much you have left to spend, and you'll also see where you're tracking in this expenses overview against your budget. So you've actually spent $120. You had a budget of $750 for the whole month, and you're doing just fine. And this is literally just what you would do 1/6/2025 every week so that you can see exactly where your money goes. Personal care. And we did a little Sephora run, and we spent $250 at Sephora. And you'll go over to here, and I had put $500 in personal care. Obviously it was for the gym, and this, but hopefully that's not the case. But either way, you have $500 in personal care. You actually spent $250. You have $250 spent left for the rest of the month. I have a bunch of subscriptions that are due annually, but I have them on a monthly. Where would I put that? Okay, so you would put that in the notes. If you know which month that annual payment will hit, which before you do all of this, you'll definitely want to check that. Go to the month, say it's going in. Okay, so you budget that monthly. Okay, well, I'll finish this thought and then I'll go there. But in the notes, say it's hitting in June, you'll put, Canva subscription due June 17th and the amount. So when you get there, you can put that into your budget. If you're saving for that every month, but it's not actually coming out, you can put that in like either your savings and investments, if you're putting it in like a sinking funds pile, and then you put Canva, and maybe you put, I don't know, $10 or $12 a month. And so that'll be its own little bucket. And so when you put that money in there, you'll track that over here in your savings and investments tracker, and you've put that in your sinking funds. So that's where that would go. And when you get to June, you'll do the opposite. Basically, you're emptying your savings and investments. So in June, you'll put the opposite, that you're taking out that money. And then when you actually expense it, you'll be able to put it in here under subscriptions, and it'll just hit there. And I hope that makes sense. But definitely let me know. And remember to put any of your savings and investments into this tracker here. And everything is tweakable for you. Everything is tweakable for you. You can do it however you see it works best for you. If you want to just put it in subscriptions from here, you can, and have that money, wherever it sits. That's totally fine. It's all tweakable for you. Okay, perfect. And thank you for the questions. This method is helpful. Sometimes I forget when the annual payment is coming out and it catches me off guard. Of course. Perfect. Okay, good. I'm so happy. Okay, so that's the expense tracker portion. You'll keep doing that. If you want to add more lines to this, you can similarly, like I showed in the other tabs, just add a couple of lines, highlight the lines. However many lines you want to add, you'll go to insert cells, and shift down. And then all of these lines will be added. This will still add up all of your expenses, and it'll still be grabbed into this expense overview section here as well. I have definitely had to add lines to the expense portion, so that's just the easy way to do it. Okay, now let's go over to the debt tracker portion here. So for your debt, you'll want to put it in the two sections. You'll want to put it in your expense tracker. So I paid my Capital One bill, credit card, let's say Capital One, or Apple. I think I have Apple as the pay the Apple bill, whichever card it is, $120. Fine. That is adding up in your expenses, and then you'll see that in your expense overview under credit cards. You'll go into the debt tracker portion though, and it'll be a little bit different. So you'll put in, again, the date, that's the same date you made the payment, and then the category, you have credit card. The description, because you already set up your debt tab, all of your debts will be in this drop down. So we'll choose Apple Card, and then the transaction being that you made a payment. And then I have this highlighted in yellow here, but enter your debt payments as negative value. So this will help bring down the total amount of debt that you have. So 120. And you'll see the total debts will come down. You'll see the amount, your current balance there for the Apple Card will also come down. So if I delete that, it was 800, put it back, now it's only 680. And if you have interest, so the interest will hit, you'll do that again. And then the transaction you'll put is interest. And then say your interest was $40. You'll put that in a positive value because it increases the amount of debt you have. And you'll do that for all of your debt transactions in this debt tracker portion. Then you can go over to the debt tab. Don't mind February, we're just looking at January. But you'll go over to the debt tab and you'll see that your debt has come down by $80 because you made a $120 payment, and then your interest offset that as well. Good. So I hope that made sense for the interest portion of it. Definitely let me know if you have any more questions on that. But there you'll see it has come down. And again, I can erase February since this is just an example. And go back to here, and you'll see the movement of the debt. And you'll also see the movement here in your overall credit card amount that came down $80. Any questions there? Okay. I think we're good. But still let me know. Okay, and then for the savings and investments tracker, somewhat similar. You put the date you made. You put some money towards your savings or investments. You'll still want to put it in the expense tracker. Every money movement should be shown in this expense tracker. And then you'll pull from the drop down, and it's just a savings, and then the kids school fund. As I showed you before, in savings and investments tab, we updated that to say kids school fund. So you'll find it here. And then you're putting a deposit. So you increased it by $100. So you'll see here in your savings. Oh, I put that in investments. Make sure everything makes sense here. So savings, kids school fund, we had a budget for 400. So far we put $100 towards it. So you budget $400 for savings, you actually put $100. So you'll see that there. And then here as well in your savings, of course, this is grabbing everything that you put in the savings category. But this will show you so far you have $100 towards your savings goal. And I didn't mention this before, but there is a beginning balance. So if you are coming from, the prior year and you already had a balance in there, this is $1,000 you already had in there. This is just telling you how much you have in there now. So you added that $100 into this, and now you have $1,100. If you didn't start with anything, you'll just have the $100 that you just put in there. Hope that's clear. Sorry I missed that before, but this is just so you can see exactly how much cash you actually have in that savings bucket. So start of the year at 1,000, just added 100 more, you have 1,100 in there. All in one, yes, trying. Okay. So that's the savings and investments portion of that. When you go over to the next tab, what I normally do, so is that where we would put it if we were starting with April? Yeah. So, yes. So you go into here, and then you're starting, obviously, it's not the beginning of the year. Yes, that's a great question. You can still put, beginning amount. You're starting at $1,500, $1,000, $1,500, whatever the case is. All of these months will say zero. Let's go to April. So, not zero. It'll say how much the balance is. So it'll carry over. And then when you add in more in April or May or whichever month you're starting in, it'll start to increase the balance there. Let me know if that makes sense. So we went to April and we just did the same thing for 12/20/25, and we go to savings, we go to kids school fund, and we go to deposit, and we deposited $500 in April. We'll go back here and see that it increased in April, and you should have a total of $1,600 in that account. Let me know if that makes sense. You'll also see the deposits here as well. So we just put that 500 towards it in April. Okay. I'm thinking you're good, but let me know. I can go over that again or in a different way. But let me know. Okay, so what I would normally do for here, transitioning from month to month, I would just usually copy this over. Like most of your expenses that you're budgeting for would be the same, especially the bills that have due dates. They would be the same. If you want to budget for birthdays, holidays, dining out. Oh no, you got a commercial. I am so sorry. I can go over it again really quickly if you need to. Again, in the savings and investments portion, you'll put the balance that you're starting with. It is totally okay if you're just starting in April or May. You put the balance that's currently in the account, and then in April, you go to that tab, and then in the savings and investments tracker, we'll do the date savings from the drop down, which savings bucket you put in a deposit of $500, and then it'll roll into here. So you'll see the increase. You started with a thousand. We put 100 in January for the example, and it keeps rolling forward until you put $500 in April, and the balance increases there. And so that bucket, the savings has gone up a total of $600 for the year, which you'll see here as well. That's how much we put towards it. And you'll also see it in here, January, April, and then the total. Okay. Perfect. Okay. So yeah, from here, I would normally just copy this information as it is usually very, very similar. And then I would go over to the February tab and then just plop that right into there. But you want to make sure that it's still falling under your pay dates for February. So you may move the amounts around a little bit. And like things that are due the 30th, but if February only has 28 days, you'll want to change that to, the date that is due for that month. And you'll just make little edits, but it's so much easier when you just copy and paste it. So it's majority there as well. And then, yes, it's both for deposits and withdrawals. Yes. So when you do that, if you want to make sure you're tracking exactly the balance that you have in there, so we can go back to April. Oh, you put some in there, but actually the next day you realize you put too much. So you put your savings, the kids' fund, you'll put a withdrawal, and then you take back out $100. And so you'll have $1,500 in there. You'll see you've only actually put in $400, that because the 500 deposit minus the 100 withdrawal will be in there. So you'll see the movements in the savings and investments tracker. So all of the money movements. And then don't forget as well, that's coming out of your cash. You'll want to track that in the expense tracker as well. And so what I like to do as well is if I'm getting, and I know I keep going back and forth in the months, but the months are the same. Basically, each month tab is the same. But when I do withdraw money from savings, it's now coming back into my pocket. I'll probably put it in here, like just cash. You can leave it in here however you want to track it. I track cash, which is a little more complex with this, but you can just put it in here. It is totally fine. And it'll track in your savings and investments tracker. Perfect. Glad that makes sense. Perfect. Okay. Okay, so we were just rolling over. Okay, so yeah, in this, you'll just make some tweaks to the month. Again, make sure you put your notes. Make sure you're forward thinking. What may be coming up for March that you have to think about for the end of February, etc. Just apply that into here. We have shopping, different types of shopping. You can put multiple for home, for clothes, whatever, for entertainment. You really just break it out however it works for you in your life. And yeah, that pretty much sums it up. And if you want to just see how you're doing for the full year, here is, again, the snapshot. And you'll see different numbers and stuff around here just because they're all examples in here. But when you do your own tracking, just clear out the examples, put in your own information, and it'll work just fine. Let me know if you have any questions. That is pretty much how you use the whole tracker. I don't think I missed anything, but just in case I did, please let me know if you have any questions. This is actually so much fun to do with you guys. Maybe one of these months I'll actually do like my own budget live with y'all. Not this month because I'm probably gonna do mine during the week, but if it falls on a weekend, maybe I'll do a live and we can just do it together. You're welcome. I'm glad it was helpful. I'm so glad it was helpful. I'm so glad I figured out how to work this. But please drop any questions you have. Like I mentioned earlier on, Google Sheets can be a little funny. It can be a little funny. So just if something's not adding up, just check the formulas. If there's formulas, it may just like decide to not capture the whole line or something. It's quite annoying, but everything should work perfectly fine. I don't know if it's on it. Awesome, Paula. Yes, definitely play around with it. Remember, it has to work for you. So that's why a lot of it is like you get to update, you know, the different categories and the descriptions and everything because it has to work for you. You're welcome, Romario. You're welcome. Thank you all for your questions. Maria, Letitia, Paula, thank you guys. I think if that is all, I'm going to, close this up. Let me know if you have any questions after this. Of course, you can always drop a comment. Drop a comment in the video or email me. I do check my emails as well. So just let me know. And I'll see you guys in the next live. Bye, guys.